Welcome everyone to the Mind, Body, and Soul television show, coming to you live from our internet television studio in Denver, Colorado. Also streaming there on ConsciousEvolutionMedia.com. I'm the founder and the host of this show, Mind, Body, and Soul TV. And I am very happy to introduce to you Christine Kloser. She is an author, a transformational book coach, and many other things that we're going to find out about. And she's joining us from somewhere in Pennsylvania. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
It is really great to have you. And I will start the show just like I always do, which is if I took away all your titles, like an author, a transformational book coach, a friend, a colleague, and all the other titles anybody ever have called you, if I took all this away, what's left? Who is really Christine Kloser?
Christine Kloser is love, is essence, is the divine embodied in the unique way that I'm here to embody the divine. And it's interesting. A few years ago, I did lose everything, and I had to find out who I was when I don't have a house, and I don't have a business, and I don't have any money. Yeah, that's what I discovered. Is that I'm me. I'm the spark of the divine that can only express as Christine Kloser today.
Awesome. Awesome. We have a lot in common, but of course, all the people that you and I attract to ourselves are probably very similar in their journey.
Yeah.
So I am really excited about you and me having this conversation unfold about getting your book done, because that's really your passion. But before we get there, just tell a little bit to our viewers what you've done in the past. How did you come to this conclusion in your life that this is really what turns you on and what makes your heart sing?
Well, how far back do you want me to go?
Don't start at birth. Skip to like when maybe you were a teenager and you started to have some sense of who you were at the time.
Okay. I think where that begins is actually in May of 1988 when I was graduating from a private conservative Catholic college in Providence, Rhode Island. And I had enrolled. I was sick and tired of doing the whole suit thing, going to on-campus interviews, pantyhose, like traditional 9 to 5. It wasn't working for me. So I did the next best thing. I got 2 of my girlfriends to join me, and we hopped the car and drove 3,000 miles away to San Diego. No friends, no jobs, no nothing. Just 3 of us in a car, and we bolted. And I think what I learned in hindsight was that was my soul yearning for freedom, yearning for expression, absolutely unwilling to be put in a box, to have my life, my light, and my expression confined to what it looked like for everybody else, right? And I think that hit me when I was sitting in the Grand Canyon watching the sunrise. It's like, I'm here for something more. And it took me a long time to really nail and discover what that more was. I mean, I started out as an entrepreneur in 1991, running a home-based personal fitness training business. Then I became infatuated in love with yoga, so I started teaching yoga, and I opened up a brick-and-mortar yoga studio in Los Angeles on Wilshire Boulevard down in Santa Monica. And I didn't realize how difficult brick-and-mortar was. And I needed support. I needed help. And I scoured Los Angeles for really good, supportive, spiritually oriented women groups for entrepreneurs. I couldn't find one. So I started one.
That's a big place. That's a big...
Yeah.
There's 20 million people. And I also lived in San Diego, by the way, Christine. I just want to get the year right. I left San Diego in 1989. When were you there?
I moved there in 1988, and I moved out in 1989 from San Diego. I lived in Pacific Beach, right by the Catamaran Hotel.
Yeah, I lived in La Jolla, so we could have gone by each other and never knew it.
Perhaps, yeah. But then 2 years after moving back east, 2 years later is when I was in LA. And that's when I got into fitness training and yoga, started my business, and I couldn't find support anywhere, and none of my friends were entrepreneurs. So I started my own group, right? I had kind of already shown up in my life as a leader, so I started a group. No marketing, no advertising, no nothing, and I ended up with 500 members.
Wow.
And I heard a lot of those women talking about wanting to get published. And I was one of them, saying, I want to be an author. So I figured, let's do this chicken soup type of book. We'll all write a chapter. We can check it off our bucket list and be done. And we wrote the book. It got reviewed in Entrepreneur Magazine as one of the top picks for women in June of 2005. And lo and behold, there were lots of other people saying, well, when's the next one? When's the next one? Where's the next one? And I was like, what next one? I checked that off my bucket list. I'm done with this book thing. I'm going to be a business coach. And I pursued business coaching from a conscious perspective, but I pursued business coaching for years. Until, I would say, 2009, 2010. The universe made it crystal clear I was not put on this earth to be a business coach. As conscious as I was, that wasn't how I was designed to serve. Mm-hmm. So I had to, I just had to stop doing it. But as a result of stopping that machine, which had become a $500,000 business, I ended up losing my house, filing for bankruptcy, going through a very difficult dissolution of a partnership that was the publishing thing that I always put on the side because I was here to be a business coach, so I thought, until this time in my life. And in all of that being stripped away, having nothing left, I was asked to really look at, who am I? What am I here to do? What can I do with integrity? I could never try to teach anyone to make money again. Obviously, I had failed at that miserably. But what could I do with integrity?
Well, you just had an experience. I just want to get the viewers to understand, because everybody's running around full of fear that they're going to fail. I don't think we really fail. We're just gaining experiences, and sometimes what we are gaining is what not to do. And then eventually we get to an area where we figure it out that, by eliminating all the things that we're not supposed to do, we arrive at the light.
Yeah. In hindsight, I wouldn't change a thing. I knew that my business partner needed to come to me at that moment in that way and kind of give me the shock of my life when I was already at the bottom, or I probably would not have woken up. I would not have been forced so low, so down on my knees, begging, asking, praying to be shown. What's next? What's this about? Who am I here to be? I needed that experience. So, no, on the surface level, I guess I look like a financial failure, but something else was being birthed within me. So I totally hear where you're coming from and completely agree. For me at that time, I don't know whether it was the hours a day that I was meditating to just really be open. I saw how transformational work was where I started in 1997, leading women's groups and retreats up to the mountains of Lake Arrowhead. Yoga was all about transformation, right? And I had been doing books since 2004, but only at arm's length. That's not what I'm here to do. But on my knees, just over 3 years ago, I saw where transformation and authorship married. I saw where those two things made sense together for me. And even though I had some of my, good friends who run multi-seven-figure businesses said, oh, the transformational author experience, then no one's ever going to buy that, whatever that is. There's no catch, there's no sass, what is it? And I said, you know what, it doesn't matter what other people think. This is the only thing that I can do that feels right for me right now, because everything else in my life was sort of, going away. And I did it, and I trusted my instinct. And now, 3 years later, I've trained, by the end of this month, it'll be probably well over 55, possibly 60,000 authors in 3 years on transformational authorship. So,
wow, those are fantastic results. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, it takes something. And what I want the viewers to hear in this conversation is that it takes something. And what I'm noticing, what's between the lines as I'm really listening to you, is it takes it takes to be a very resilient person and somebody that doesn't give up. You're not a person that gives up on your dreams.
Mm-mm.
You're going to do whatever you have to do to get to wherever it is that you're going. Is that accurate?
Pretty much. And sometimes whatever I have to do looks like a couple hours a day in silence. Right?
Yeah.
And sometimes whatever I have to do looks like the rare time that I work until 3:30 or 4 o'clock in the morning because there's deadlines that need to be met.
Mhm.
And that's what needs to happen. It's rare, but doing whatever I have to do is one unto the other and everything in between. And yeah, I know I'm here for a larger purpose. And so I hit a speed bump. So I lost everything. That was part of my soul's purpose coming to life. So I have to keep going. I'm still alive. I got to keep going. There's always
So you
more.
learned about letting go. A lot of people are still struggling with letting go. We have to let go something that doesn't work for something else to come into our life that's going to work for us, right?
Yeah, and I remember that day of letting go. It was January 20th of 2011. Because you have to understand, bankruptcy and foreclosure are challenging enough when you're the sole provider of a family and, young daughter and all of that. And right the day before I'm supposed to go sign my bankruptcy papers, that was my birthday present to myself on December 2nd of 2010. Like, happy birthday, go sign your papers. It was not a good year, to say the least.
Yeah, I understand. Been there, done that.
Yeah,
so,
very challenging.
I'm curious about who. So a couple of challenges that I have, and I'm wondering if you're having these challenges. One of the challenges that I'm having is that everybody in the world now is calling themselves producers, and if I correlate that to your business, everybody in the world I talk to have a book or two or three or four. It's like the market is getting overwhelmed by producers and books. How do you reconcile that for yourself?
Good question. My reconciliation comes from the fact that I have a firm belief that if someone feels they have a message inside of them, a book inside of them, something to share, that there is still someone on the planet that needs to hear that message specifically from their voice, right? We all know the people who, they want to lose weight, and they buy 100, weight loss books, but it's the 101st sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one that had the tone, the way, the method, the story, the right timing that got that person the weight loss or health breakthrough they were looking for. So I just believe, if you're writing a book on a topic that's already been written 1,000 times over,
so what?
Well, your version, like this show, right? How many producers, how many shows, but there's no one that does it like you do it.
Yeah, exactly. Very good answer, by the way, because I feel exactly the same way, and I find myself repeating myself a lot on the network. Can you imagine? After 15,000 shows, 10 years later, I sometimes wonder, is there anything new that I have to say? And then what I say to that is, maybe I don't have anything new to say, but whoever is listening or watching hears it for the first time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I believe in my heart that that's exactly where you come from, because you got to repeat yourself in order to do what you do, in order to put out the volume of the work that you do. 60,000 people in what, 3 years, you said?
Yeah, by the end of this month, I think it'll be close to 60,000.
Amazing results. And so I'm curious also, who is your client? Like, how do you know that this is a person that you want to work with and it fits into the transformational author experience?
Oh, like my whole body just got like fired up when you said that. I'm kind of jumping out of my skin because, for years I struggled with like not knowing who do I work with and therefore not being able to find the right people. And I have found my mark, and I know that the people that I love to work with are mostly first-time authors, right, who have had this book inside of them for a while. They feel it, they know it, it's part of their journey, and they know it's time to get it out. But there are people who, I do have some people that come to me for fiction, but really it's a nonfiction writer that wants to share a message of hope, inspiration, transformation, help, self-help, personal growth, spirituality, to serve other people on their journey. And the other piece of that too, because that's a lot of people, right? But there's people who just want to do it and get it done. Like there are programs out there, you know, how to write your book, you know, in 48 hours, how to do it in a weekend, how to lock yourself in a closet for 4 days and come out with a finished book. But for me, the people I work with, they value the process of writing as a transformational process in and of itself. And they understand that as you birth a book, as you write a book, it is also a birthing of oneself. And that book just becomes an extension of your heart, of your wisdom, of your soul, of what you're here to do. So my people, like, they're not the ones that want to, you know, get it done as fast as they possibly can and just get it out. They're the ones who want to live the full experience and become the embodiment of the message on the page. So those are really who my people are. Lots of, you know, coaches, consultants, speakers, trainers, therapists, practitioners. Just talking earlier today with I had a couple attorneys on a call. So that sort of person. Are pretty clear?
So what do you? Yeah, very clear. So find the big.
I just lost my volume on you. Can you hear me? What? Can you say that again? The volume just got. Yeah, you just blacked out for a moment there.
So okay, that happens sometimes. We are internet after all. So what is the biggest showstopper in your experience with people that you work with? Why they procrastinated as long as they have?
Oh, number one, hands down, the reason why people procrastinate is because they're just scared. They're scared because they don't know how to do it. They don't know where to start. You know, they know that they need to kind of put a stake in the ground and share their voice and be who they're here to be, but they're kind of, you know, scared to come out of hiding and let others really see them. So it's all different flavors of fear. Really is the only thing that I've seen stop people. And
yeah, fantastic. So how do you work with them? What are the different types of programs that you can put your clients through?
Well, I have 3 different programs, kind of work on, actually 4, that work on 4 different levels. Sort of like my 20,000-foot view level, like the overarching, everything you need to know to succeed in this world as a transformational author. That is my Transformational Author Experience. That's a program that I started just 3 years ago. I'm in the 4th annual one right now as we speak. And that program is 22 hours of training. And I know what I know really well, and I'm clear that there are much better people to teach platform building and book marketing and specific writing skills and strategizing your book and all, you know, making money from your book and all sorts of things like that. So I bring in #1 New York Times bestselling authors, publishers, agents, transformational leaders, and marketing experts, and we collectively teach for 2 weeks, absolutely free for anyone who wants it, the Transformational Author Experience. And by the time you're done with that training, you know what you need to know about writing, publishing, and promoting a transformational book. It's the go-to resource online for authors around the world. That's where I've trained by the end of the month, probably close to 60,000 people. Now, the other aspect that I teach is I have a program that's called Get Your Book Done. And Get Your Book Done is a deep dive into the narrow slice of the book process that is the actual writing. And it's kind of like a paint-by-number system. I mean, it's a very simple process to follow that shows you what to do first and second and third and fourth. And people follow the paint-by-number system. They follow the writing process. And by the end of 6 months, for a lot of them, they have their manuscript done and ready for production. So that's Get Your Book Done. Yeah, that's the program that I actually developed back in 2007. One of the pieces of my business, I kind of held it at arm's distance. Like, it's out there, but it's not what I do. And now it's like my core way that I really get to work closely with people, because there are coaching components in that I really enjoy. And then I just last month taught a new program for the first time called the Soulful Messenger Coaching Program. And what I discovered is a lot of people in my community actually weren't ready to write their books, or even didn't want to write a book. They just liked me, but they had no way of working with me. So I developed this Soulful Messenger program for people who know that they're here to be messengers, and they know that they're here to excavate and live their soul's purpose as a messenger. So
well,
that was
it may not be through a book. Is that
absolutely? And I had people saying, "Thank you so much. I've wanted to work with you, but I don't want to write a book." And they finally got to work with me.
Okay, great. Awesome.
So that's just a 5-week, a 5-part course with extensive live Q&A that I did. That's available in the online version of the training. And then my 4th program is something called the Transformational Author Master Heart. And that is where I work very closely for about 8 months. I call it a master heart because it's not a mastermind process, it's a heart process. And I work with these people to help them birth their stories over the course of 8 months. And we have live retreats together, tons of phone calls, and at the end of the whole process, they actually all get published together in a book and share their voices together in a book. And the next wave of that, the book is actually called Pebbles in the Pond, Transforming the World One Person at a Time, and wave 3 of that book is coming out on June 24th with the most recent group of amazing visionaries, leaders, just powerful, powerful catalysts for change in the world who have been through incredible experiences. They all come out of the program, and the cherry on top is that they're published together.
Fantastic title. Yeah. Awesome.
Thank you.
Well, you have incredible amount of clarity, which is what usually tells me that you're on the right track. I'm sure you are the same way. You can, in absolute clarity, you can describe who you are and what it is that you're up to, and I'm not surprised that people want to work with you and seek you out. Because it must be really, really easy for people to get the value that you're providing to them. So I guess what I heard in all of that description is that transformational author experience is like the educational piece that you provide to people so that they understand what's really involved from like A to Z.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's great. I wish, you have a fantastic model, by the way. I wish that people could buy homes that way. I wish that people could buy cars that way. Because in most things that we do as human beings, I'm finding that we don't educate ourselves first.
Yeah.
And so we get ourselves into all kinds of trouble later on because we become ignorant about what's really involved, and we don't even appreciate most of the time the professionals that are in the industry, whatever industry that is, because we just don't understand. So I love your. Did you come up with this process on your own?
The transformational author experience?
Yeah, the whole thing, the way you built it. It begins with education. It continues with, okay, if you want to get your book done, here's the next program, and if you want me to work with you and hold your hand and have other professionals hold your hand through the whole thing and get published at the end of it, here's another program. It's brilliant.
I wish I could say that it was all like brilliant strategy. It was far more grace, far more grace than it was strategy.
Wow.
If I'm going to tell the truth, it's beautiful now, and I see it, and I think there were years, probably 6 or 7 years before I got this clarity, that I would just cry because I wasn't clear and I didn't know, and things didn't. I'm thinking about it now. It's like, I remember things didn't fit together, and it's like I had so much more and I didn't know how to give it, and people weren't getting my gifts because I wasn't clear. And I wish that I could say that all of that helped me learn how to strategize. But it was really on the wings of grace that it is what it is today, and being willing to listen.
Yeah.
I told myself in 2010, I think I told myself I'd never do another anthology that features multiple authors. And then I was talking with some of my clients who had been in my anthologies, and they were talking about how profoundly it changed their life. And I was on a live call, and I just had the inspiration to say, you know what, I'm going to do this again. This is too powerful of a service, too transformational in people's lives. How can I keep that from them? But I need to find a way to make it work for me so it feels good. Because I didn't have really close relationships with the people in my books before I turned into this 8-month, transformational process that involves live retreats and calls and everything else in a relationship that makes the book that much better, Yeah. So I thought I wasn't even going to do that. That's how good I am at strategy. I'm going to throw away one of the things in my business that had been the most profitable when it was profitable. And I was going to throw it out. And then I just got, the nudge, don't throw it out.
Well,
and
thank you. Thank you, Christine, for you to willing to share that, because, I have very similar experiences that I stumbled a lot, for many years, just like you have, before I figured it out and I could get clarity. And it really, I just want to make sure that the viewers hear this, so it's kind of underline this.
Yeah.
Until I really figured out who I was and what am I about and what my passion is and how I want to change the world by changing me, because I want to do it through leadership. It's through the leadership of my own life, because that's the only thing people get to see. And if I'm willing to do the work, that I can show people that I can become a better human being by doing this and this and this or whatever, then I think we're creating a better world for anybody that wants to change themselves. Would you agree?
I would absolutely agree. I think in a world where so many businesses and people are kind of shaky, like not really solid, not really true, and I call it sometimes like fabricated authenticity. Like people are trying to be authentic instead of going through their own internal process to really just know authenticity and not have to try to be it.
Yeah.
And I think the more people like you and me who have gone through it and find our spot and stand strongly, I just have found it surprises me, but people are really hungry for someone who just stands clear and true and knows who they are and doesn't try to be anybody else and just shows up as that.
Yes, it's very refreshing, and the fact that I no longer have to worry about what people think of me is an incredible gift all on its own.
Absolutely.
Don't you feel the same way?
Yeah, it's like, liberating.
You can think of me any way you like. It makes no difference, because I am on my journey and I know who I am and I know what I'm doing, and that's all that's important. As far as how you want to think of me, that's your business, not mine.
And the beauty of that is that quote from Marianne Williamson, right? It says, as we, liberate ourselves, we liberate others. I'm not quoting it exactly, but I find that that's what happens. When someone experiences someone who is authentic, liberated, just who they are, it gives them all of a sudden permission that they didn't have to just show up and be themselves. But they need to see it, I think, sometimes to get it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, our conscious half hour is coming to a close, Christine. I could talk to you for hours. You are a very incredible person. Thank you for taking the leadership in the world and doing what you do and helping people, thousands of people, getting their books done, especially transformational authors, which is a huge gift because it can change thousands and hundreds of thousands and millions of lives in the future and now. So thank you for being who you are. I really loved being with you, and we'll stay in touch, and we're going to have a second guest coming on, so I'm going to say goodbye to you. Thank you so much for being here.
Great. Thank you for having me.